Welcome. Okay, so you have been studying away and maybe watching all our videos and not subscribing, but whatever, and you're a bit overwhelmed heading into your exam. You saw this little book and thought, I got this. Then you got into it and realized that every bolded word could somehow be included in your exam, and there's a lot of them. This lecture is meant to consolidate and give you some recall tips when those questions come at you. Now, most of this is covered in the official specification, which you should have access to, but we decided to give you a rapid fire review with some memory tricks to link up all those words, places, and grapes. Let's get started. All right, let's just quickly go over the exam logistics and maybe a little strategy. The exam is a closed book, 50-question multiple choice test with a duration of 60 minutes. That gives you like 1.2 minutes per question. A lot of time. You need 55% or 28 correct answers to pass, and there's no negative marking, so always guess if you don't know. Crucially though, the exam is not weighted evenly across the entire text. Principal varieties, these are the well-known places and the wines named after places that feature them. These are 19 questions, or 38% of the exam. And the regional varieties are 12 questions, which is 24% of the exam. So together, grape varieties make up 62% of the exam, meaning if you master the grapes and their regions, you are very likely to pass and pass well. Now, our first section we're going to cover is the vineyard and labeling. We classify climates as cool, moderate, or warm. Labeling is covered by geographical indications, or GIs. We have PDOs that are like AOC, DOC, DOCG, DO, DOCA. These cover smaller areas with stricter rules. PGIs like IGP, Vin de Pays, or our own AVAs cover larger areas with fewer rules. Remember that vines need warmth, sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, and nutrients, and are typically found between 30 and 50 degrees latitude. Remember that during ripening, sugar increases and acid decreases. For black grapes, tannins ripen, becoming less bitter, and color changes from green to black. You've got to remember that flowering occurs in the spring and that veraison or color change starts in the summer before a fall harvest. Keep in mind that relationship between cool climate fruit and warm climate fruit as far as acid levels, body, and potential alcohol. Now we're going to jump over to winemaking and maturation. The fermentation equation is yeast plus sugar equals alcohol, carbon dioxide plus heat and flavors. White wine production for level 2 is crush, press, then ferment using only the juice. Red wine is crush, ferment with the skins, then press. Rosé uses typically a short maceration on the skins to get just a little color. Then the juice is fermented like a white wine. Remember that crush is like smash and press is like squeeze. They sound like they could be the same word otherwise. Now, the key difference between red and white production is that skin contact during fermentation, as this provides the color and tannin for red wines. Oak aging adds flavors like vanilla, toast, and spice, and allows oxygen contact. Oxidative aging, all of this softens the tannins. If we have small new oak barrels, these are going to give the most flavor. And oxidative aging can also lead to notes of nuts and caramel. Anytime you see nuts and caramel on the test, it's talking about aging. Stainless steel keeps the wine fresh and preserves the fruit, while oak does add secondary flavors and texture. Malolactic conversion, which is mentioned, lowers the overall acidity and can add buttery or lactic notes. In some styles, malo is common, especially in our warmer climate, say Chardonnays from California, or also down in Saint-Laurent, Puy-Fusset, or the Mâconnais. Now, the size and age of our barrel matters a lot. More oxygen and flavor from new smalls versus big olds. Now moving over to those principal white grape varieties. Now, we're talking about Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and Riesling, and we're going to detail their characteristics and key regions. Remember, this is the largest section of the exam, focusing on those principal white and black grape varieties. Now, for Chardonnay, it's pretty neutral and easily influenced by winemaking and can grow in cool, moderate, and warm climates. Focus on the climate influence here. A Chablis from a cool climate tastes vastly different from an oaked California Chardonnay from a warmer climate. We've got apple and high acid versus tropical and probably buttery. Sauvignon Blanc is high acid and aromatic with green fruit and herbaceous notes. If you see the word asparagus, it's almost always referring to Sauv Blanc. Remember its birthplace in Sancerre in the Loire, but also remember Marlborough in New Zealand. Gooseberry is almost always talking about New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. Now, Riesling is high acid, aromatic, and can be made in dry to sweet styles. Riesling is also the grape most associated with the German Prädikat system. Know the order, as in Kabinett, Spätlese, Auslese, Eiswein, Beerenauslese, Trockenbeerenauslese, because these are going to come up. Remember, kites sure are easy, but tacky will help you remember the order. Now, honey is a key for those botrytis level wines, which should be noticed in the Beerenauslese and Trockenbeerenauslese, but usually no honey in ice wine. Trocken as a word means dry, so Trockenbeerenauslese refers to dried up fruit. Trocken on a bottle means a dry wine. Halbtrocken is half dry or off dry. Now, regionally, remember that Mosel is most light body. Pfalz is fat or big bodied. Now, the Australian ones are known for their dry style and a lime character. Now moving over to the principal black grapes. Pinot Noir is light-bodied with low tannins, preferring cool to moderate climates. It's really the only red grape in level 2 that they'll list as liking that cool climate and not warm ones. Key regions here being Burgundy and New Zealand's Central Otago. If you can remember Walker Bay from South Africa and Yarra Valley from Australia, as well as Casablanca from Chile, they might also show up as a point or two regarding Pinot. But keying on that, remember red fruit like strawberry. Cabernet Sauvignon has high tannins and high acidity, preferring moderate to warm climates. And it's a key in Bordeaux left bank, and then also around the world, including Napa Valley. Merlot is softer, as in medium tannin and acid compared to Cabernet, and is important in Bordeaux's right bank. A key to remember our left bank rock stars are MPP, Margaux, Pauillac, and Pessac-Léognan. Right banks and Merlot, the ones they like to talk about are Pomerol and Saint-Emilion, both of which almost have the word Merlot inside of them. That's a way to remember it. Syrah or Shiraz thrives in moderate or warm climates, with northern Rhone styles being peppery and Australian styles being a little more full-bodied. Black pepper is almost always talking about Syrah. Remember, pepper shaker for pepper Syrah. Next up are the regionally important grapes for Italy and also Spain. And there's a lot of them, it's true. For Italy, Nebbiolo and Sangiovese are both high acid and high tannin, found in Barolo, Piedmont, and Chianti in Tuscany, respectively. Remember Barolo, Barbaresco from Nebbiolo. More alliteration. Corvina is the key for Valpolicella, and Glera is that girl that drinks Prosecco, or the grape of Prosecco. Cortese is from Gavi, close. And our suave gentleman who must have fresh breath from gargling mouthwash, so Garganega is for Suave. Fiano is like Fabio, with hair like honey and not really medium, but medium to full-bodied. Now over in Spain, Tempranillo has medium acid and tannin and is the most important grape in Rioja. You must remember the aging law hierarchy. If it helps, remember the Spanish Inquisition for Joven Crianza Reserva Gran Reserva, which indicates time in oak and bottle, as in Jesus Christ was really great, or you're going to prison. Now we have one more group, final group of regionally important grapes. Gamay is the only red grape you need to associate specifically with Beaujolais. They both also rhyme. Gamay, Beaujolais. The words bubblegum and banana are usually talking about Gamay and Beaujolais. Now, while Malbec is originally French, the exam focuses on Argentina's Mendoza as a key growing area. Both start with M. Other varieties include Carmenere in Chile, both start with a C. Pinotage in South Africa, I got nothing. And Zinfandel Primitivo, which is high in sugar and alcohol, Puglia being a place where Primitivo is grown. Versatile whites include Chenin Blanc, which is the only level 2 grape that makes dry through dessert level sweet wines and sparkling. And then we have dry Semillon out of Australia that go nut and honey with age, or decadently sweet in Sauterne. Now we are going to cover briefly sparkling and fortified wines. The traditional method is used in Champagne and Cava, both start with a C. This involves bottle fermentation and developing bready flavors, autolytic notes. The tank method is for more aromatic grapes like used in Prosecco and Asti. This preserves the primary fruit character. The key distinction is that the traditional method is for complexity and nuance, and the tank method is for fruit flavor preservation. Over in our fortified wines, sherry is dry because the spirit is added after fermentation. Port is sweet because the spirit is added during fermentation, interrupting it, and there's sugar left over that makes it through to the bottle. Now, there are 4 points in our final section we're going to cover here on service, storage, and food pairing. Now, these are mostly common sense. Store wine in a cool, constant temperature, away from light and vibration, on its side to keep the cork wet. You don't need to know precise Celsius and Fahrenheit temperatures, but you do need those adjectives that describe the amount of chill. Well chilled versus lightly chilled versus room temperature. Those mostly follow the body of the wine. Now, which wine gets an ice bucket, which would be well chilled? Sparkling. Also with an S, if you forget, are the sweet wines needing to be well chilled. Light to medium body whites and rosés are chilled. Big body whites and light body reds are lightly chilled. Medium to full-bodied reds are served at room temp. For food pairing, you have to sort of imagine you are a European, and well, also you wrote these rules. The challenge in a lot of Europe is getting fully ripe grapes and not ending up with lean, austere, very acidic wines. Here in the US, fruity wine sounds bad, but making a wine more fruity in Europe is considered a good thing. Remember that salt and acid are wine's best friend. Like, who doesn't like a squeeze of lemon or a dash of salt? These make a wine less bitter, less acidic, and fruitier. Sweetness and umami in food are bad. They make the wine taste harder, more bitter, more acidic, and less fruity. Now, if you're one of our students, you have tons of practice quizzes in our online classroom. Do them over and over again. And be sure to reach out with any questions or if you have any confusion. Also, take a deep breath. Our pass rate is like 98%. Globally, it's close to 90%. You got this. So we'll see you next time, maybe in level 3.